So this video is dedicated to vocabulary building. Vocabulary building, as I've said over and over again, is one of the most important parts of the verbal section. Actually, it is the only part which is most important, because as I've said over and over again, if you don't know the word, irrespective of what I do, irrespective of how well you are trained to identify the clues and to figure out what you need to fill in, unless you don't know the word and understand its connotation, it is next to impossible for you to get it right. Now, what's the good news? The good news is you don't actually need to know the entire word. What you need is you need to understand or figure out at least where the word lies. So there are different ways of doing this, because as I said, the process is to eliminate choices, right? So either you can figure out whether the word has a positive connotation or a negative connotation. That is a good way of doing it. If we are dealing with sentence equivalence, what is a good way of looking at words is, are the words good enough synonyms or not? Either which way, today I'm going to talk about the vocabulary building exercises, and I'm going to talk about certain tricks that you guys can use which can very well help you. First things first, the Manhattan book and the GRE book has a list of words that are usually expected to come in GREs. You need to know at least those words. I mean, these are highly recurring words and they are also a little difficult. So if you can master that, that's a good step. The other thing that I've told you, there is an app on Android named Magoosh. If you download that, it gives you flashcards. That's also a good way of practicing for this. But the point is, you need to get started today and you need to maintain a word count. If you aren't, you will be lagging behind your colleagues. Now, in order to have a good vocabulary, there are certain things you could do. First things first, and again, I'm going to lay down 3 options because everyone will be comfortable with different aspects of word learning. So those of you who are comfortable with word roots, they can use that technique. So if you can figure out what the root of the word means, that is a good way of sort of figuring out where the word lies. That's first technique. Or, and as some people are more proficient in, you could use prefixes and suffixes. That is a good way of figuring out whether the word has a positive connotation or a negative connotation. The third is a trick that I really like above all, is learning words via association. As I discussed in the last video as well, rather than learning words and their meanings, you can learn words and their synonyms. So you start out with a very simple word. Say for instance, a very simple word. Say the word slavery. And if you can figure out what the word serf or serfdom means, then you've done exactly what I just told you. Now the point is, the reason this is so effective is you can keep adding words to it. Anything that has something to do with taking away people's rights and forcing them to do certain things, you can club all of these words together. Now this is a very good exercise for solving sentence equivalence, and this way you will also retain far more words. So say for instance the word explain and the word explicate and the word extrapolate. Now they have very different connotations. At every point in time you are explaining something. It has something to do with description. The trick is, you start with a simple enough word that you all know. Then you keep adding words onto it. And as you move on, you can virtually get rid of this word. You can have it in your record so that if you are referring to these words, you can come back to it. And the point is, this is only half a technique. As I said, context is also very important. But it's far better to at least have some clue of where the word lies than to have no clue at all. The other 2 techniques that I talked already is either you figure out what the prefix is. A prefix will ultimately help you figure out whether the word has a positive connotation or a negative connotation. Again, these techniques are excellent for sentence equivalence. They come into play when you are doing sentence completion as well.